a duty towards the preservation and the propagation of the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Indeed, one of the best ways to work towards the reappearance of Imam al-Mahdi Ajjalallah Ta'ala Farajul Sharif is through promoting the values of Karbala. Imam Hussein Media Group is the only Shia television network that broadcasts globally in 5 different languages: Arabic, Farsi, Turkish, Urdu, and English. We are appealing to the lovers of Imam Hussein alayhi salam worldwide to support the channel such that it may continue its global operations. Imam Hussein Media Group is seeking 1,000 partners to pledge to a £14 contribution per month. This will allow the channel to sustain its operating costs as we continue to spread the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in multiple languages across the globe. You be a part of this great legacy and donate today. You can pledge in 2 ways. www.imamhussein3.tv/donate will take you direct to our donation page where you can pledge monthly. Or you can call or WhatsApp us on 0044 793 9917163. Imam Hussein TV, your gateway to Karbala.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I know it's getting very close to iftar time, so please forgive me for talking about food tonight, because I know many of us are starving, especially those of us who are watching in London. And those who may be watching, for example, in Pakistan have already broken their fast. Those in America, they've got a few more hours left. And those in Australia, from our dear viewers, all of them may be coming near the time of suhoor. So we're going to discuss food tonight, and we know very well that you are what you eat. At the end of the day, each and every one of us as human beings recognizes the importance of food, but also at the same time, we realize that there are certain foods which are our favorites. There are other foods which, for example, a person may look at and say that my religion forbids me from eating this food, although I may want to eat it. I look at Judaism, it has dietary laws. I look at Christianity, it has dietary laws. I look at the religion of Islam, it has dietary laws. And even if I go to Hinduism and Buddhism, all of them have their own dietary laws. Each and every one of them has their own dietary laws which have to be observed. And so when we look at these dietary laws, we find that in some cases these dietary laws may have become part of culture more than religion now. And others of these religions still follow to the T. So when I find, for example, within Hinduism, I may find that some people may want to follow scripture, others may want to follow what the culture teaches. Even Judaism today, there are some Jews who may follow what the laws of Kosher or Kashrut dictate in terms of what is permissible and what's not. But then there are others who today will say to you that I'm only culturally Jewish. If there are foods that remind me of my culture, I'll eat them. But you might find some who may eat that which, for example, Judaism forbids. Let's say Judaism forbids the flesh of the swine, like originally you'll find within the Bible passages which talk of the flesh of the swine being forbidden, but there may be Jews in the world today who will still eat pork. You may find, for example, that a Christian pastor may tell his following that you're not allowed to eat fish without scales. But you'll still find many Christians in the world today who will eat pork and eat fish without scales. So for us as Muslims, sometimes when we're talking about food and dietary laws, Muslims in some cases are today the only religion that is still very observant of its dietary laws. Now, I'm not going to say that every single Muslim in the world observes it to the T. There are certain Muslims who may go through periods where they don't follow what their religion teaches them. But on the whole, you'll find that when it comes to Muslims, the dietary laws are of the utmost importance. It's not easy when you live in a world where every religion doesn't take the dietary laws as seriously as you do. So you may have a Hindu colleague at work and he doesn't understand why you're so strict today. He'll say to you, listen bro, even in our faith, there'll be certain things where we're not allowed to eat. But you know what? Times have moved on. Times have changed. You know what? Why are you guys still so strict about these things? And therefore, for us, when we're discussing this area, we find a number of issues pop up, especially in relation to the pluralistic society within which we live. As in when I see, for example, I have a Hindu neighbor, I know that they have their own religious beliefs, but at the same time, I also know that they have the generosity within them to sometimes bring me, for example, a particular dish. A dish that may be hot food, maybe cold food. Now, how do I look at that? Because I've got this theological belief that these people, in some cases, have put images to God in idols. And we know the context of idol worshipping when we look within the Holy Quran. And then I don't want to show bad akhlaq to somebody who's showing me good akhlaq as a neighbor. So I'm stuck in this conundrum. Then I've got my Muslim friends who baffle me sometimes. Where we've gone to a restaurant and I'm under this impression that I can only have fish which have scales. But then my friend next to me is ordering lobster and calamari, and they're ordering whatever comes from the sea, squid and oyster and other things on the menu, which I'm like, hold on, do you even eat that? And you'll find that they're eating it. And so now I'm confused. And then in the summer, I see people who come to London and they're having Big Macs. When they're having Big Macs, I don't understand. And even I remember when I was at school, I'd have some friends of mine, for example, from Somalia, good friends of mine. They go to McDonald's, quick Bismillah, and he's finished that burger. And here I am thinking, hold on a minute, if Bismillah can do that, that's something I've got to try. Because if all I need to do is say Bismillah, then why can we not have all of these Big Macs and McDonald's all the time? So therefore, for us as Muslims, we see other Muslims. It's not non-Muslims. It's we see other Muslims. And we ask ourselves that, hold on a minute, there are other Muslims who are eating things I can't eat. Why is it that I'm so adamant that I can only have cod, tuna, sea bass, Dover sole, branzini, but I cannot have lobster and calamari and squid and oyster and crab and so on and so forth? So I look at all of these things and I begin to wonder, what does the Quran say about this? At the same time, I see certain stores in London where they say this is kosher. And I see Muslims eating kosher. There are Muslims who say, but brother, these people are Ahlul Kitab. So why can't you have a sandwich that's prepared, for example, by somebody Jewish? If you're talking about dietary laws, that is kosher. And what's wrong with it? Meat and meat. And so you find some of our Muslim brothers and sisters who will eat kosher on a regular. But it seems the Shia, on some areas, you'll see that non-Shia will say, you guys have got it easy. On other areas, we'll look at them and say, actually, you've got it easy. Because with all these different sects in the religion of Islam, and then within the sect schools, the Hanafis have got their opinions, and the Shafi'is have got theirs, and the Malikis have got theirs, and the Hanbalis have got theirs, and we the Ja'faris have ours, and the Zaydis have theirs. And then even our interaction when we eat from each other. Do we have to be careful when we go to a Muslim country and eat? So if I go to a Muslim majority country, I go to the United Arab Emirates, for example, a part of it like Dubai, or if I go to a place like the Hijaz, and I want to go Burger King ASAP. There are some people who go to Hajj and Umrah because they want to get to Burger King before they go to the Kaaba. They're starving and they're looking forward to that Whopper. And I go to an airport and I'm thinking, can I have that Whopper? But where's that meat from? So all of these things, as well as Corona. Someone says, what do you mean Corona? Corona's really made us rethink what we eat. Because for many years, people used to say, let everybody, according to their culture, eat what they want. The Chinese can eat what they want. The Arab can eat what they want. The Indian can eat what they want. The West Indian can eat what they want. The Mexican can eat what they want. But then we saw with Corona that it opened us to a world, if not directly linked, maybe indirectly linked, to a world where we saw people finding it normal to eat bats. People finding it normal to eat monkey brain. People finding it normal to kill dogs and eat dogs. And other lizards, all different forms of lizards. And what's interesting is that when we look at the verses in the Quran regarding kosher, regarding seafood, regarding food of those who ascribe partners to God, it's amazing how this book is 1,400 years old, but still relates to everything we're discussing today. I do admit that sometimes the ways people in my position describe the Quran made people not interested in reading it, because sometimes you always imagine this is just a history book. But what's amazing is that in 2021, on night 25 or whatever of the holy month of Ramadan, we're discussing the worldview of Islam in relation to the Jewish community, in relation to the Hindu community, and in relation to its own challenges within the Muslim community. Because we do have challenges when it comes to food. I'm not sure that everything that we're eating is legit, by the way, at the moment. There's a lot of madness behind the scenes of even the halal meat industry, even the dhabiha industry. I don't know about this whole idea of they stung the food and electrocuted, but you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and Allahu Akbar and it becomes okay. I don't know what some of these animals are even being fed. Let alone when we go to certain restaurants. You know, when we go to certain restaurants, if it's a Thai or Chinese restaurant, then you're thinking, are they Buddhists or not? But do I judge? I don't know who's in the kitchen. For all I know, there's 25 English staff in the kitchen. When I go to other restaurants, for example, they give me salmon or sea bass or cod, but I don't know how much red wine's been on there to make it just taste a little different. Try going to some famous restaurants around the world and say to them, I'd like to order sea bass, but make sure there's no alcohol. And he'll be like, okay, actually, sir, this one you're not going to be able to have. Because there are many people who become so negligent that in some cases they feel ashamed to ask, and in other cases they feel embarrassed. But a person shouldn't feel ashamed. A person shouldn't feel embarrassed. A person should feel that, you know what? I am what I eat. My food affects my soul. There's an energy surrounding what we eat. And I think if you ask that to a Hindu, they'll agree. There are some Hindus who, by the way, won't eat with a different caste to them. So even amongst Hindus, there are some who won't eat from each other. And so you found that the relationship of food with religion has been there for a very long time. Even in the Quran, God shows us that the Jewish community, because of the behavior of the children of Israel for a certain period of time, their rebellion meant that some foods were even prohibited for them. I remember in Surah An-Nisa, Surah 4 verse 160, if we go to Surah 4 verse 160, I remember one particular ayah which always made me think that, you know what, the rebellion of certain groups of the chosen people of God made God look at them in a way where some of that which was food, which was halal for them, became prohibited. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فبظلم من الذين هادوا حرمنا عليهم طيبات أحلت لهم وبصدهم عن سبيل الله كثيرا. Because of the behavior of the Jewish people, we did forbid for them those good things which had been made lawful for them before, and for them obstructing the path of people towards God, or obstructing the path of God. I think even in the chapter of Leviticus in the Bible, you've got this discussion of what was allowed, what's not allowed. And so you've got this relationship between the Jewish community, or the children of Israel in particular, where God kept on bestowing them with favors. But even though He is bestowing them with favors, we still find that they were either blocking the path of the prophets of God, and in blocking the path of the prophets of God, certain foods became prohibited for them. And in Surah Al-An'am, Surah 6 of the Quran, verse 146, God actually goes further on this. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Surah Al-An'am, verse 146, وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ هَادُوا حَرَّمْنَا كُلَّ ذِي ظُفْرٍ. And for the Jewish community, look how God tells us that, listen, it's not just Muslims where things were forbidden for us. Just because there are some people in the Jewish community who don't care anymore, pork, no pork, or about, eating kosher, doesn't mean that the Jewish religion did not have a set of laws in relation to one's diet and eating habits. In Surah 6 verse 146, God says, and we forbade the Jews every animal which had undivided hoofs, and of the oxen and the sheep we forbade unto them the fat of both, except that which is in their backs, or the entrails of what is mixed with their bones. This was forbidden to the Jewish community. And so the Jewish community in the Quran, why would God mention what was halal and haram for the Jews? Because when you're revealing a lot of these chapters to the Jews who are living in Medina, it's also a reminder to them that, listen, some of the food that you people are asking about, even in your books, it was written what the dietary laws were. It was written for you about what was allowed and what was not allowed. And unfortunately, it seemed that their rebellion, ذَلِكَ جَزَيْنَاهُمْ بِبَغْيِهِمْ, we recompense this because of what? Because of their rebellion. Because they were constantly rebelling, certain things were made forbidden. So now, you can imagine that the main verses concerning haram food and halal food in the Quran are in Surah Al-Ma'idah. Do you agree with me that Surah Al-Ma'idah is a surah which has come very late? Yep. Especially, all Muslims believe that Surah Al-Ma'idah was one of the last surah to be revealed. And what we have with Surah Al-Ma'idah is, of course, the revelation regarding Ghadir. So that must mean that this is very late in the time of the revelation of the message. Ya ayyuha rasul balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik is in Surah Al-Ma'idah. Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum is in Surah Al-Ma'idah. The Muhajirun, there had been some of them who've been in Medina for a number of years. There's others who, in some cases, the Meccans, many of them had been away from Medina. And so many of them, when they were living in Mecca, there were certain habits they had when it came to which food they would eat, which the Quran had to reveal verses about. Because what the Quran was trying to show was some of the eating habits of the Meccans, even though that animal may be something halal, the way that animal reached you in some cases is more important than consuming. A sheep may be halal, do you agree? Sheep, halal. Lamb, halal. Beef, halal. Chicken, halal. Am I allowed to cut parts of the chicken and give it to an idol? I place it around the idol so the idol blesses it. Is this allowed? This is not allowed. Sheep, lamb, chicken is all halal. Am I allowed to, for example, torture it and then eat it? No. Can I strangle it and then eat it? No. If there's a disease in it, but it's halal, but is it? I can't. I can beat it to death. But sometimes you see some people in the world, when they eat a dog, the way they kill that dog is horrendous. There are some cultures in the world of technology and gadgets, they are number one. But in the world of treatment of animals, in some cases, it is quite disgusting in all honesty. And in some cases, that affects their soul as well. Because when you can literally watch a dog being beaten, or any animal for that matter, sometimes when I see RSPCA and others make videos about dogs being cruelly treated, the first of the verses where the Quran wanted to assess that just because you have this animal in front of you, it doesn't mean you can strangle it or beat it or make two animals fight each other and then munch them. Surah 5 verse 3 of the Quran. In Surah Al-Ma'idah, look at Surah 5 verse number 3 of the Quran. God mentions to us what's forbidden for us. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمْ, forbidden for you. Okay, all of you Muslims in Medina, in Mecca, wherever you may be, forbidden for you. حرمت عليكم الميتة. The first thing forbidden for you is that which dies of itself. Okay, we agree. That is forbidden for us Muslims. ولحم والدم. Secondly, blood. You know, until today there are certain people who will take the blood of a pig, and it's a delicacy for them. The blood of the pig. And they will actually say this is one of the most delicious things we can have. That blood of the animal we cannot have. وَلَحْمُ الْخِنْزِيرِ. And what? And the flesh of the swine, the pig, pork, bacon. It's not just us who say this. Ahl al-Kitab all agree that the pig is not something that can be eaten for a couple of reasons. Either the pig, the way it lives its life, is not something I want in my body. When you see a house that's trashed, what do you call it? A house that's just completely trashed, pigsty. When someone, for example, is disgusting in the way that they're behaving, what do you call them? Pig. There's a reason we say that pig is haram. You know, when a person sees this whole house and they're like, this is like a pigsty. Now, I'm going to eat that same animal that walks around those areas? No. I don't want that affecting my soul. Okay? Let alone affecting my body. وَلَحْمُ الْخِنْزِيرِ وَمَا أُهِلَّ لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ بِهِ. And that which is being slaughtered in the name of anything other than Allah. I as a Muslim, when I slaughter, what do I say? Bismillah, don't I? I may say Allahu Akbar. These Arabs, what were they doing? Slaughtering to other than Allah. Buddhists, when they slaughter to Allah or other than Allah? Other. Hindu, if they slaughter to Allah or other than other. Atheist, if they slaughter to Allah or other than Allah. So here we have وَمَا أُهِلَّ لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ بِهِ وَالْمُنْخَنِقَةُ. That animal which is choked to death. When someone says Ana makhnug, makhnug means I'm choked. Khinga, choke him. Okay? وَالْمُنْخَنِقَةُ وَالْمَوْقُوذَةُ. That animal which you found which is injured. Okay? Because listen, I can't as a Muslim just say that I'm going to slaughter this animal, but there was no intention involved that we're going to slaughter this animal the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? There has to be an intention there that this animal is being slaughtered in the way of God. وَالْمُنْخَنِقَةُ وَالْمَوْقُوذَةُ وَالْوَاتُ وَالْمُتَرَدِّيَةُ. That which may fall off, for example, a cliff. You know, we're walking and we see a sheep fall off a cliff. Can I now take that sheep and munch it? No. Someone said, but Sayyidina, it's a sheep. Halal. It's fallen off a cliff. I don't want that in my body. There's a particular manner and a particular etiquette to that which I eat. What else? وَالنَّطِيحَةُ. Okay? Natihatu is when you, for example, get two animals with their horns going against each other. Okay? And then you eat what is of the winner, for example. Okay? So look at these Arabs. Choke an animal. You have an animal that's injured, an animal that's fallen off a cliff, an animal where the horns are attacking each other until they can. You know when you see sometimes buffaloes or wildebeest fighting each other. Can I see them fight each other and then I take the munch and I go and say, listen, I'm going to barbecue this? No. Some people might think, hold on a minute, but the animal is halal. So what's the problem? Why can't I have it? No. The Quran said that those animals which are choked or injured, fall off a cliff, or they are having their horns fight each other until they die, that is not allowed. What else? وَمَا أَكَلَ السَّبُعُ إِلَّا مَا ذَكَيْتُمْ. This is interesting. And that which the wild beasts ate, except what you slaughter in accordance with prescribed law, and also forbidden to you what is sacrificed on the altar stones. Now what these people used to do, and that which is divided by consulting. Let me give you an example of what these Arabs used to do. One thing they used to do, they used to put stones near the Kaaba. And then with those stones which are around the Kaaba, they'll get them, they'll slaughter an animal. The blood that comes, they'll take the stones, they'll take the blood of the animal with the stones, put it around an idol. This is all pagan methods which were employed when a person would come to slaughtering. The Quran wanted each one mentioned. Do you know why? Because each one of them is still around until today. There are still people who will take animals and dedicate them to a god. There are festivals in the world where fire is worshipped, where Satan is worshipped, where people don't sacrifice just animals, they sacrifice humans. They sacrifice babies. They take blood of a child. They're all around the world. Even if you go on YouTube and you type blood sacrifice ritual, pagan rituals, at certain festivals, and you know some of these festivals, they look all innocent. We're just going for a weekend of music. We just want to hear music. Before you know it, with the mixture of drugs and the mixture of drink, Shaitan has made his nest wonderfully in there. There is no limit to what the human may do. So when the Quran said what? When the Quran said وَمَا ذُبِحَ عَلَى النُّصُبِ, the Quran was saying that these people, what they would do, they'd get these stones, put them around the Kaaba, they'd slaughter an animal, get the blood, get the stones, put it nicely around an idol. وَأَن تَقْسِمُ بِالْأَزْلَامِ, and you divide what? And you divide by consulting arrows. What's divide by consulting arrows? You know what you do? Go and kill an animal and put 10, for example, pieces of that animal. 7 of these pieces have on them you have won. 3 of them have on them you've lost. You get 10 of your best friends and you put a wager on it. You pick out a piece. If it says lost, you don't get a share of that animal, but you've got to pay for how much that animal costs. If you get lost, 3 lose, 7 gains. So out of 10 friends, you have this, and people still will have betting on certain things as well. I'm going to bet that if this happens, I'll pay for the meal. I'll bet if this happens, you're paying for the meal. Here, what was their betting? Because Azlam is a form of gambling. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions Azlam with khamr in a number of verses. Intoxicants and gambling are the impurities of shaitan. So these people would gamble with each other. How would they gamble? Get me 10 pieces. We pick out. If you've won, you get some of the meat. You pick out lost, you're not getting any meat today, and you're going to have to pay, and your mate going to have to pay, and the 3 of you are going to have to pay for the total cost. So the Quran came and said that the rituals related to food, in the context of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, there was a lot of absurdities. In Islam, pork, haram. Blood, haram. That dedicated to other than Allah, haram. That which has been choked to death, haram. That which has been beaten, haram. That is which is injured, fallen off a cliff, haram. Making 2 animals fight each other and then collecting the animals and slaughtering them, haram. Because Islam wanted a sense of what? Softness and mercy with an animal when you slaughter it. Islam said that animal, don't slaughter it in front of its mother. Or the mother, don't slaughter it in front of the child. Give the animal some water before you slaughter it. How many times do we hear in the masa'ib related to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, that Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam, when he would go past a person who's about to slaughter a sheep, he would say to the person, will you give it water? He said, of course, every creation has to be given water before it dies. And Imam Zayn al-Abidin would be hurt with this because he'd remember that his father, Imam al-Hussein, died thirsty. And so for us as Shia, when we cry for Imam al-Hussein, firstly we're following the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt. They cried for Abu Abdullah, so if it's not a problem for us to cry then, like Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa cried for Imam al-Hussein many years before Karbala. But for us on the second level, Imam Zayn al-Abidin would ask the butcher, you give the animal water before you slaughter? What is these rituals? Choke them, throw them off a cliff, get them injured. The next verse, the Quran said that we know some of you people are hunters. Am I allowed to send a bird to hunt for an animal? Because I ask you all a question. As a Muslim, I have to say Bismillah, true, before I slaughter. So if I send a bird and the bird comes back with the animal, When do I say the Bismillah? Verse number 4. يَسْأَلُونَكَ مَاذَا أُحِلَّ لَهُمْ. They ask you, O Muhammad, what has been made lawful for them, sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. He replies, وَمَا عَلَّمْتُمْ مِنَ الْجَوَارِحِ مُكَلِّبِينَ تُعَلِّمُونَهُنَّ مِمَّا عَلَّمَكُمُ اللَّهُ فَكُلُوا مِمَّا أَمْسَكْنَ عَلَيْكُمْ وَاذْكُرُوا اسْمَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ سَرِيعُ الْحِسَابِ. They ask you, what is it that's been made lawful? Okay, Ya Rasulullah, you said everything's haram, we accept. Yeah, okay. Now, we've just become Muslim. You've said to us that we can't anymore have horn fights. We can't choke them to death. We can't beat them to death. We can't have pork. Okay, now tell us, what's been made lawful? He replied, lawful have been made for you the good things such as what? The prey of what you have taught from amongst the hunting beasts, the dog, and what you have trained them, what you have taught them, even as God has taught you. Then eat of what they hold for you. Dog in Islam. You know, many people have this impression that Islam hates dogs. Why would Islam hate dogs? A dog is a creation of Allah. A pig is a creation of Allah. These are creations that have a purpose. The purpose wasn't for me to swim with them in the Caribbean, nor was the purpose for them to lick my face and snog me. That was not the purpose. The purpose of the dog, it had a particular purpose, for example, such as a hunter. The Quran says in this verse, your dog. When the Quran says, مُكَلِّبِينَ أَجَلَّكُمُ اللَّهِ كَلْب, in Surah Al-Kahf, which everybody loves to quote when they want to have a dog. Okay? That dog which was at the edge of the cave of Ashab al-Kahf. A dog was meant to be used as a hunter, as help for shepherd, as security, help for the blind. What we have made the dog today is not what God envisaged, in all honesty. And there are even certain medical journal articles that discuss that people may even reach a level of dog breath. They used to say in the past, if your breath didn't smell nice, you got dog breath. Subhanallah, now I want the tongue of the dog in my mouth. I, the human. Your house is a pigsty, I eat pig. You got dog breath, now let the dog lick me. No, there are some, literally, they'll show you them and their dog. Doesn't matter where the tongue of the dog has been 5 minutes earlier. You lick me, you're like my... There are some who the dog is more of a child. Baba, for us as Muslims, treatment of the dog must be the best, no doubt. But the dog wasn't created for it to be that close to the human. Yes, the dog is man's best friend, is a hadith. Because there is nothing more loyal than a dog. But that dog has its purpose. Here, if I have a dog and that dog goes out hunting, I have a bird that goes out hunting even. I say Bismillah as it leaves my arm. So by the time it comes back with that animal, which still hasn't died, for example, then it becomes halal for me to eat. Question, dog held the animal with all of its saliva. All I do is wash the animal. That's it. But as I let go of that animal, the Quran said, وَاذْكُرُ اسْمَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ. Say the name of Allah. On what? While you leave the dog to go and catch it. Okay? So the Quran said this. So now do we agree that in Arabia, certain things were made haram, forbidden for us to eat? Blood, flesh of the swine. This was there in the books of the Jews and the Christians. Of course, Christians, with Christ saving them, some of them went on a path of following law. Some of them said, now that Christ has saved us, no more problems with flesh of the swine and no more problems with other laws. Paul's influence on Christianity, I think, has a major role. I don't know whether Peter is necessarily on the path of Paul. But if you look at the first letter to Corinthians, you clearly see a movement which is different from what was envisaged by how the Jews and certainly Christ would have envisaged. Many Christians don't follow necessarily the world of law as strictly as Judaism or Islam. Okay? And for some, this makes Christianity more enjoyable. As long as I have love, I have good ethics, that's enough. Don't bring law into the picture. And sometimes I think when Hollywood actors and actresses, when they love Buddhism or Christianity or Hinduism, I don't think it's so much the love for what all the teachings are. I think it's what it does allow you to get away with. That's all right. While there isn't a lot of haram and halal, that's cool. Yeah, don't get me onto the Islam stuff. Of course, that doesn't mean that some of them didn't come towards the path of Islam. But generally, when people see the laws of Islam, and even for us as Muslims, I see my friends eating in McD's, for example. And I see my friends when they go on holiday, they have chicken and meat at any restaurant, and they're Sunni. Not all, but you'll find that they'll say, but what's the issue? And I'll be like, yeah, but this is the meat which has been slaughtered by non-Muslims. Then they show me verse 5. We've done verse 3 of Surah 5. We've done verse 4 of Surah 5. Now we go to verse 5 of Surah 5. And this could be the verse that allows everyone to have Big Macs tonight. Now, don't quote me, because firstly, there's a McD's not far from the studio, and I'm worried about the guys behind the cameras. But secondly, look at verse 5 of Surah 5. اليوم أحل لكم الطيبات. This day, what has been made lawful for you? All good things. وطعام الذين أوتوا الكتاب حل لكم. And the food of those who have been given the book has been made lawful for you. Which country do I live in? England. Would you agree that this is seen as majority Christian country? Yeah? Does the Quran say permission has been given to you to eat the food of the people of the book? Who are Ahl al-Kitab? Christians and Jews. So now if I have a restaurant which is owned by someone Christian, can I go and eat their food in that restaurant? Why not? Quran says yes. You can't contradict the Quran. No, you can't. If Quran is saying that permission has been given to you to eat the food of the people of the book, Ja'far, are you today going to go and eat the food of the people of the book? No, hold on. Muslims love to make things complicated when it's easy. Muhsin, Quran says, وَطَعَامُ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ. حِلٌّ halal. Ahl al-Kitab, Ahl al-Kitab, Ahl al-Kitab, Ahl al-Kitab. All I ever hear Muslims saying is Ahl al-Kitab, Jews, Christians, Ahl al-Kitab. Okay, here's Ahl al-Kitab. The food of Ahl al-Kitab has been made lawful for you. Are you going to go with dad tonight and have a Big Mac? Chicken. McChicken. McChicken you can have. Can he have McChicken or no? Tell me. Hamid Ali. McChicken, can he have? Wallah, I don't understand these Muslims. I really don't understand. يا حبيبي وطعام الذين أوتوا الكتاب حل لكم وطعامكم حل لهم. The food of the people of the book has been made lawful for you. Baba, McDonald's is down the road. I can already see said Murtada and Mustafa Akhun packing their bags to go and have. Amir Zad and all of these, they're all ready. Quran says what? وَطَعَامُ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ. So my non-Shia brothers and sisters, you find some of the Sunni brothers and sisters, they will be very clear. I've got a friend of mine, he's Shafi'i. I said, brother, there's no need, you just go, this is Ahl al-Kitab, you're allowed. Even the one who slaughters halal, some might say, as long as they're Ahl al-Kitab, what's the issue? So now we have people who are asking this question. They're saying that can we eat the meat of Ahl al-Kitab? The Quran says the food of the people of the book has been made lawful for you. So are you going to or not? And if not, tell me why you wouldn't. Make sure you give a good answer, because God said yes. So I want to know why you'd say no. You've got to explain that to God. Are you ready to explain that to God? No, we're not ready, are we? Because the problem with us Muslims is when something is easy, we make difficult. And when something is difficult, we make it, you'd think, easy. I'm looking at this ayah of the Quran. And the ayah is telling me, in every translation you can imagine, وَطَعَامُ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ. McDonald's, Burger King, London, majority Christian country. And all I need to add to it is a Bismillah. In reality. Although here it doesn't say Bismillah. But if I go to Surah 6 verse 1, you know, remember high school or college when your friends were like, bro, just say Bismillah and eat. How many times have you heard that? Say Bismillah and eat. Because in the Quran, in Surah 6 verse 1 to 1 of the Quran, the verse says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا مِمَّا لَمْ يُذْكَرِ اسْمُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ وَإِنَّهُ لَفِسْقٌ. Do not eat that on which God's name was not mentioned. Okay? So that means I've got two verses here. I've got a verse that says to me, the food of the people of the book. You have Christian friends? You have Jewish friends? Yes. So when you have these Christian and Jewish friends and they invite you home next time, and dad says to you that, you know what, you cannot eat their meat, can you now turn around to dad and say, Dad, firstly, if I look at the Quran in Surah 5 verse number 5, it's saying to me that the food of the people of the book is being made halal for you. And Surah 6 verse 121 says, whoever doesn't say Bismillah, then this is a transgression. But what if I say Bismillah? By the way, I'm really worried now because there's about 40 minutes till iftar, and I've got a feeling some people are looking online for some meat and chicken ASAP. Of course, we know very well that the first condition of halal and slaughter in Islam is that there are certain animals that even if you say Bismillah on, they can never become halal, like pork. So let's delete pork. But I'm sure you all have friends who are like, Baba, this is meat and chicken, who cares? I'm never going to eat pork, they say, but meat and chicken. And the Quran is saying to you, وَطَعَامُ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ. Does the verse say? Yes, go ahead.
But the thing is, like, the Christians, they, like, for example, they slaughter the animal in Jesus' name, not God's name.
Perfect. The Christians slaughter the animal in Jesus' name. How about Jews? So you can eat, today we can eat Jewish? Kosher? No, but hold on. That's a good point. Someone says, what if I know the Christian slaughters the animal in Jesus' name? Let's also be quite realistic. Most butchers out there are not going to say, in the name of Christ. But the Jews, they have their meat. I could go now to Hampstead, Mill Hill, St. John's Wood, Golders Green, and there is a large Jewish community with wonderful restaurants. And I don't want to always order the same tuna sandwich. I want to have some of that. You know, sometimes they get the what's it called? You know, the pastrami and the beef and, you know, the tongue. And there's all these lovely dishes. So shall we go for iftar tonight there? I don't understand. Why are people not allowing us? So what's the answer? Because if I keep going back and forth, we're going to last until after iftar, and then people will be cursing me. What's the answer? The answer is وَطَعَامُ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابِ. The word ta'am, it didn't say the meat of. It didn't say وَلَحْم. It's a ta'am. The food of those who have been given the book. Does food necessarily mean meat? Non-Shia food also includes meat. For Shia, the general consensus, not that there aren't opinions that differ, for I can show you a few that may, but the general majority and the mashhur was ta'am of Ahl al-Kitab refers to their herbs and vegetables. If someone, Jewish, Christian, cooks for me that which has got veggie dish, no problem. But if they cook for me meat that they've slaughtered, because the word doesn't say وَلَحْمَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابِ, it says وَطَعَام. Does beggar the question, however, that food, wouldn't it denote that part of it is meat? When you say, what are you bringing home tonight for food? You don't have to always mention meat. Secondly, when you look at an ayah of the Quran, remember the ayah when we said Ahlul Bayt gave away their iftar 3 days in a row when someone knocked at their door and Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein were not feeling well? The ayah said, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ, and they give ta'am away. But what if that ta'am included meat? What would happen for this ayah? The question is ta'am necessarily? Now me and my good friend, I have one of my good friends in Leicester. Once we sat with a very renowned Maulana Mujtahid. We're in the car with him. Myself and him were going back and forth on this ayah. Ta'am means this, ta'am can denote this. Same things I've told you. And he was saying to me that, look, it's plausible that the argument given by the Sunni can have weight. So we said to him, okay, let's go to a McDonald's right now. He said, no. I said, but Baba, you said it's plausible. He said, no, but I will not eat. And there are some of the Ahlul Sunnah who, although they believe that they're allowed to eat from the people of the book, they will not. Some of them will not. Even the Hanafis make saying Bismillah a condition of this becoming permissible. The Shafi'is not. But you'll find the reason why they say Bismillah before they eat something is that verse. That food where there is no Bismillah being recited is a transgression. Therefore, food where I say Bismillah before I eat it becomes permissible. My Sunni friends also, when it comes to seafood, they can munch seafood. And they eat a lot from the sea. And sometimes I've asked some of them, and they've even gone as far as saying turtle and otters and stuff like that is not even haram, no problem. So it's not just fish. It may be things all within the sea. But when I speak to our Shia, we always are limited. And you get to that baffling moment where you get the name of this fish where you have to go and Google to see, is it kosher or not? And what we have over here in the Quran is, why is there a debate? Why can Sunnis eat everything of the sea? And why is it that Shia are so restricted? Surah 5, same surah, verse number 96. Let's go to verse 96. Now, in Surah 5, verse number 96, there's this wonderful discussion. Now, Ja'far, help me out here. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Uhilla lakum Saydul Bahri. Allowed for you is the game of the sea. Wa ta'amuh, and the eating of it. Mata'an lakum walis-sayyara. A provision for you and provision for the travelers. Now, when it says to you, allowed for you is the hunting of the sea and the eating thereof, doesn't the Sunni have it right in their fiqh? I think that ayah is pretty clear. Muhammad Ali, don't you think so? What's the issue then? So is everybody going to go to calamari right now? Right now. Lobsters out. And the lovers of the oysters and the squids and the crabs. And we differ with our Sunni brothers and sisters on dietary law, as I said earlier. Not only on Ahl Kitab, they can eat rabbit, we can't eat rabbit. Rabbit for us is haram. So there's other animals as well. But when it comes to fish, there's a major contrast. Actually, some of the ulama used to say one of the signs of a Shi'i is that they only have fish with scales. That was one of our signs, by the way. That we only have fish with scales. But this ayah is saying the game of the sea, the hunting of the sea, is allowed for you and the eating of it. Why do I as a Shia, when I see this ayah, not say that this ayah is absolute? Why have I put restrictions on it? Because when I finish the verse, allowed for you is the hunting of the sea and the eating thereof, a provision for you and for the travelers. Forbidden unto you is the game of the land, as long as you are in ihram. Allowed for you is to hunt in the sea while you're in a state of ihram. Not everything in the sea is permissible for you to eat. You see the difference? If I stop midway through the verse, I imagine that Allah is saying everything in the sea is allowed for me to eat. The Quran is saying that hunting, sayd, is allowed for you while you are in ihram. It doesn't mean hunt. Imagine I say to you, hunting of the sea is allowed for you and you can eat from it. And I stop there, you'll be like, hunting for the sea is allowed for you when you're wearing ihram. You'll be like, oh, thanks, Maulana. So now I can't wait for us to do the tawaf. Because your mind is what? On Hajj. Your mind may be on Umrah. The condition here isn't about what's allowed in the sea. It's about what you can do when you're in ihram. The Sunni opinion is that here is saying anything in the sea. The Shia is like, but if you finish the ayah, it's about ihram. And when it comes to about ihram, what's it saying to me? It's saying that when I'm in a state of ihram, remember Imam al-Jawad says to the person when he's 9 years old, Imam was 9, he says to him, hold on a minute, what's your question? He said, what's the kafara if you hunt while in a state of ihram? When you're in a state of ihram, there are certain things you're allowed to hunt, there's others you're not allowed to hunt. Ihram forbids me from certain things. Do you agree? So therefore, for Shia, this ayah was an ayah that was showing that only when you are in ihram, in the state of ihram, it means that you are allowed to hunt from the sea. Nothing here says every single thing in the sea you can munch. أحل لكم صيد البحر وطعامه متاعا لكم وللسيارة. It is a provision for you and for the rest of the people who are in your caravan. That's it. I'm not going to deny that we'll always find the odd couple of maraji in the Shia world who will give an opinion where they'll say, no, all seafood. But they might say that it is very makruh. But you know, many Muslims, when they hear makruh, they do it anyway. So now, when we see fish, we see that the Shia, we're specific. Fish only with scales. Someone might turn around to me and say, well, shrimps, this, that. Shrimps, we have a hadith from Imam al-Kadhim where he specifically discusses shrimps and why they're permissible. Okay? Someone says, but Sayyidina, lobster, it's a big form of a shrimp. I look at the way the lobster's cooked. Lobster, straight in, dead. I don't know. Why are we blaming the Chinese on the way they eat certain things? When you see an animal, a guy puts it straight into hot water and then you want to munch it afterwards. But that's between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mankind can be higher than angels. Mankind can be lower than the animal that they eat. So, we have this. Then someone says, okay, Sayyidina, I've understood that now the people of the book, there's a question mark about them. But that we're allowed to have that which is prepared by them. How about people who don't have a book? People who believe in one God, for example, but they put images to God, like idols. Or people who put partners to God. A mushrik can either be someone who believes in one God, but puts idols as images of that one God. A mushrik can be somebody who believes in more than one God. We agree? Hinduism may fall in that category, where they believe in one God, but there's images or idols of that God. Why, therefore, can I, as a Muslim, not eat from the food of a mushrik? Because of one ayah in the Quran mainly. Surah 9, verse number 28. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Many of you would have read this ayah. Surah At-Tawbah, verse 28. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to us in this ayah. No Bismillah, as Said Muhsin pointed out. Because we know Surah At-Tawbah, there's no Bismillah. However, no Bismillah at the beginning when addressing the idols. Here, we're talking about a general thing, but no problem. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Oh, you who believe. So I think those who believe deserve a Bismillah. Innamal mushrikuna najasun. Verily, the idol worshippers are seen as being unclean. Question, unclean physically or unclean spiritually? Shirk, we know, polytheism, is the greatest sin in Islam. There is no sin greater than shirk. It is the sin that if you die on it, you cannot be forgiven on the day of judgment. Other sins, you never know what tawbah can do for you. Okay? This one, if you die, Quran says, إِنَّمَا الْمُشْرِكُونَ نَجَسٌ. Question number 1, what type of najasa? Physical or spiritual? Meaning, the maraja who believe that I cannot eat the food which has been prepared by the Hindu. I see the Hindu, of course. If I don't see who the cooks are, it's neither here or there. I don't know who's in the kitchen. I'm saying for those, because some Muslims will say that I went to someone's house, I went to some restaurant. If you don't know who the cooks are, you cannot therefore say that I cannot eat this. Only if you've seen someone with their, for example, wet hands cook that munch. But when I base it on this verse, that the mushrik is seen as najas. But najas means what? Does it mean physically impure or spiritually impure? The Maraja who say that we can't eat the food prepared by somebody like the Hindu, for example, is because they believe in their spiritual and their physical impurity. Mind you, you could be a Muslim and you could be najas. Can a Muslim be najas? Of course. On the one hand, a Muslim who's in a state of janaba is najas. On the other hand, you may have a Muslim who's a nasabi, hater of Ahlul Bayt, finds pride in saying that we will bomb the grave of an imam. Oh, you can't eat their najas. But he say, I believe in La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Yeah, but you hate the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And nasabi, najas. There are many non-Shia who love Ahlul Bayt. But there are some who hate Ahlul Bayt as well, where they call themselves Muawiyah army, Yazid army. Baba, what do you want me to do? It's like you could be Muawiyah's army, you could be Yazid's army, you could be a camel rider's army. It doesn't matter, it's up to you. But for me, anyone who fights Al Muhammad, I don't want to eat their food. I will not touch their food. And in the books of fiqh, there. So let's not just say the mushrik. There is someone who's a Muslim, he can be najis as well. Don't just go and tell me that in Islam, Hinduism, there is discussions about polytheism. There are Muslims who believe in one God who are najis. And my good friend, Professor Nabil Hussain, has just published his book on the Nawasib, opposing the Imam, I think it's called. You can order it on Amazon, about those who claim to be Muslim, but they have hate for Imam Ali alayhi salam. A pure hate. That person's najis. I don't. So the Ramaraja, they look at this ayah. They say that the human who commits shirk, physically, spiritually impure. Because your beliefs also have an effect, the energy on what you serve, what you cook, what you eat, and so on. There are others who believe, yes, spiritually, there's a problem. But they believe that every human being is physically pure. Because of one of the verses, I can mention a number, but one of the verses, Surah 17, verse number 70 of the Holy Quran. In Surah 17, verse number 70 of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says this line. And this line is a line which of the utmost importance. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We have honored the children of Adam. I ask you, Hindus are children of Nabi Adam? Yes. Sikh? Yes. Buddhist? Yes. So therefore, all of these, Allah has said, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We have honored the children of Adam. That means that physically, this person, if they have been honored by Allah, physically, that person touches my food, brings me a dish. They are physically people who have been honored by Allah. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Otherwise, physically, I may not wash my hands. Hindu may not wash their hands. Atheist may not wash their hands. I may come out of the toilet and I don't look after myself. So some ulama said this is purely spiritual. Others said, look at the context of the ayah. The ayah says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِنَّمَا الْمُشْرِكُونَ نَجَسٌ فَلَا يَقْرَبُوا الْمَسْجِدَ الْحَرَامَ بَعْدَ عَامِهِمْ هَذَا. This ayah is saying that those mushriks specific to Mecca, that they are the ones who are impure and should never be allowed to enter Masjid al-Haram. Why should I say that the mushrik who fought the Prophet, peace be upon him, his family, and I have a mushrik next door neighbor who on the contrary on Eid comes and says happy Eid to me. If I have a majlis in Muharram, says, is there any chance I can come and listen to the lecture? If they hear about Hazrat Abbas in Mumbai, they come out and they remember Hazrat Abbas. Can I classify every mushrik, every kafir, every kitabi? Because if you're saying Ahl al-Kitab are not najis, do you know up until about 60 years ago, majority of Shia believed Christians and Jews were najis? Ulama. One of the people who had a groundbreaking change in this was Ayatollah Muhsin al-Hakim. Otherwise, if you have a problem eating from Hindus and others because they're mushrik, but you eat from Christians because they're Ahl al-Kitab. 2 verses after verse 28, 2 verses after verse 28, verse number 30, وَقَالَتِ الْيَهُودُ عُزَيْرُ ibn Allah. The Jews said that Uzair is the son of God. وَقَالَتِ النَّصَارَى الْمَسِيحُ ibn Allah. And the Christians said Jesus is the son of God. How could you eat from Christians when they believe Jesus is son of God? Hindus may ascribe images to God, which is very problematic because we know that shirk is the worst sin in Islam. When you put an image to Allah, I know Muslims who believe Allah has a body. There are Muslims in the world today who says Allah has a shin, Allah has hands, Allah jogs. Allah sits on a throne. When one famous Muslim speaker was asked, how could you believe God has a body? He said, yes, his body is not like us. Like if we have 5 fingers, he has 1,000. So therefore, there are a lot more nuances on this discussion. Where you have maraja in the world today, when they look at this, of the people of the book, they say, hold on, people of the book, some of them are mushrik, and we're still eating from them. They look at Hindus, they say, are these Hindus the same as the mushriks, Abu Sufyan and the rest of them? Is it akhlaq if someone brings me a dish and I say no, because you are so and so? Is this what my Prophet wanted? And that's why not all maraja agree on this idea that the human, because of their belief, becomes physically najis. And that's why ijtihad and legal discussion keeps opening doors for us. Because in this pluralistic world that we find, we meet new people, we learn more about their heritages, and we rethink the context as well as the text. Thank you all so much for listening. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Enjoy your meal.
Karbala, once a barren land, a land once uninhabited. Yet today millions assemble and congregate in it. But why? A holy trail left from Medina and mark the journey of oblation, submission and sacrifice. The focal point of hearts set a journey towards this land. Imam Hussein TV is excited and honored to be inviting you to an opportunity like no other. For many of you who have visited Karbala, you would have seen the building works around the front of Imam Hussein's shrine. The Haram is now expanding, and currently Tell al-Zainabiyya Sanctorium is being recreated. With the new plans and developments, Imam Hussein Media Group is relocating to the Dar as-Sajjad building on Qibla Street, one of the main roads that leads to the front of the holy shrines of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Our building will only be 150 meters away from the holy shrine of Aba Abdullah. This new building is to be the new headquarters for the Imam Hussein Media Group, taking up 200 square meters. The purchase of just the land alone in 2012 was a total of over $2.2 million. The 11-story building overlooks the holy sites of the sacred tents of Imam al-Hussein, Bain al-Haramain, and the 2 holy domes of Imam Hussein and his brother Abu Fadl al-Abbas alayhum as-salam. The building will consist of 11 floors and a basement. The basement will be dedicated to serving the blessed pilgrims visiting the holy city of Karbala and will hold an equipment storage and repair facility. The ground floor of the building will hold a Husainiyya, which will be open all year round to hold majalis and celebrations. The first floor will have a built-in amphitheatre seating 200 people. It will be used to premiere certain shows and documentaries, as well as hosting international conferences and seminars. The second floor will hold an equipment storage and repair facility. The third floor will host our Farsi channel, Imam Hussein TV 1. The channel requires office space, meeting rooms, as well as editorial suites to create new material for your viewing. The fourth floor will host our Arabic channel, Imam Hussein TV 2. The fifth floor will host our English channel and our Urdu channel. This is where all post-production will happen. The sixth floor will host our Azeri channel, Az-Zahra TV, and our news channel, Shia Waves News. The channels require office space, meeting rooms, as well as editorial suites to help plan, create, and manage different stages of production to bring you the latest news affecting the Shia community globally. The 7th and 8th floors will be split into two parts. The majority of both floors will be home to the Al Mukhayyam studios. This space will hold two visual studios overlooking the holy shrines and will be used to have live broadcasts and pre-recorded filming sets. A small section of the double-floored studio will be the control room, which is where the technicians record, mix, edit and televise live broadcasting. The 9th and 10th floors will also be split into two parts. The majority of these floors will be home to the Bab al-Qibla studios. This large-sized studio will include window backdrops showing the holy shrines of Imam Hussein and Abu Fadl al-Abbas alayhum salam. This will be used by all channels when holding ziyarah and special programs to celebrate or commemorate the Ahlul Bayt. A small section of the double-floored studio will be the control room, which will also be used for technicians to record, mix, edit and televise live broadcasting. Here's where you can help. Many of us make investments for the future to see a return. Our hereafter is our real future. And here is an investment opportunity like no other. It's costing Imam Hussein Media Group $700 per square meter to construct and decorate the building. The $700 will account for cement to bricks, from iron beams to cabling, and even plastering, painting and tiling. You can donate to our project and receive blessings and rewards with every single second any production is being created in this building. Whether we are script writing, filming, editing or broadcasting a live show on the day of Arba'een, your donation will raise blessings and rewards for the hereafter. But I'm sure you're asking yourselves, why do we need such a building? Since its inception, Imam Hussein Media Group has grown to a multilingual and internationally recognized station. Our sole duty is to provide an interactive platform to teach people the message of the Ahlul Bayt. The new building will give each channel their own space and equipment to work effectively and efficiently. With more space, each department will have ample time and freedom to be able to create more interesting and valuable content to bring you all closer to the Ahlul Bayt. In today's world, falsehood is abundant, and through Imam Hussein TV, we have the ability to show people the truth. It was once the wealth of Sayyidah Khadija that pushed forward the message of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. And today, we ask you to help us push the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. All that is required is just over $900,000 to finalize the total project. And with so many lovers of Imam Hussein and with so many contributions from these lovers, we are sure we can reach our goal. Invest in the future of your community. Invest in your afterlife. And invest in the legacy of your Imam. Imam Hussein TV, your gateway to Karbala.